Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even thing. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a Sunday Stuff and Things. And today, as you can see, summer's over. I'm pretty sure summer is pretty much over now. We are entering into the overcast, drizzly time of year. It was raining pretty much all last night. We had a little break in the clouds for me to record this video out here. But yeah, I'm not sure how much longer this is going to be a place that I can come to record videos. We shall see. I'm sitting here, and there's, I don't know if I can grab this without getting disgusting. Ugh. But there is a giant, no, I broke it. Oh, and I got it all over my boots. Oh no. That's gonna be smelly. A giant bull kelp float right here. Oh, it's filled with water. This one's kind of brittle, but this was a favorite pastime when I was a kid and I would go to the beach with my older brother. We would find those things when they're more fresh, and they make amazing Indiana Jones style bull whips. We would whip them around, we would whip each other with them. And let me tell you, they can give you quite a welt if you connect with those on a shorted thigh. But yeah. I'm here kind of playing hurt. I'm having a weird body week. On Tuesday, I did a workout. I do lots of like push-ups and crunches and like dumbbell stuff. And obviously I have a very physically demanding job. And so I mostly stay in shape that way. I used to do a lot more like dumbbell, upper body, arm stuff, and then pull-ups, but I hadn't installed my pull-up bar when I moved until last Tuesday. I was like, these arms, they're getting a little spindly. I need to start doing my pull-ups again and start doing more dumbbell stuff. And so I installed my pull-up bar and I did just a full-on dumbbell pull-up workout, basically the same one I would have done like 5 months ago when I was doing it, twice a week. And I pushed myself way too far, and now I can't straighten my arms totally without a horrendous amount of pain all through here. I've never actually had this before. Obviously, I've had sore muscles before, but I'm basically like stuck like this, and it's extremely painful to straighten my arms. And then I did something else to like the muscles around my ribs. Where if I breathe heavily or expand my chest, it's horribly painful. So thank the lucky stars, thank God above that I'm here right now doing this video for you, because I could be just rolling around, wallowing in my apartment, feeling miserable. But we're gonna power through, we're gonna do this. Also, I've been properly chastened by the YouTube algorithm. The last Sunday episode, I did a thumbnail and a title that had nothing to do with pipes and got about 1/5 of the views on that video that I would normally get on a Sunday video. So yes, YouTube overlords, I've learned my lesson. So basically, if I talk about football, I just have to pretend I'm not talking about football, or else YouTube won't show the video to you. Or maybe it's you guys, maybe you just won't watch anything unless it has pipes in the title. I don't know, but I'm still pretty stubborn. I'm still gonna talk about what I wanna talk about. I always have, I always will. That's just the way it is. But anyway, in this episode, we will be discussing upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and working. We're going to get into some people behaving very rudely and inexplicably involving me and photography. So some weird stuff. It'll be kind of a mini rant. Sometimes I'm just completely flabbergasted by the way human beings behave towards other human beings. So that'll be a fun topic. We are going to get into your questions, comments, and feedback, and there's one in particular that involves nicotine and the pipe hobby. Someone who, well, we'll get into this, but people leave a lot of comments on a certain video that I posted a while back, and sometimes, I don't know, they don't have a lot to do with actual fact, and they make a lot of assumptions about pipes and the pipe hobby. So I want to get into that. It's a comment from someone who I don't think is an actual like repeat viewer of the channel. And then of course we'll have your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get into it. All right, my notes are all in the wrong order here, but we have upcoming videos, things you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Working next week. First of all, go watch that boot cleaning video I did if you haven't already. If you own leather boots, you should watch that video. That posted last week. But next week, we're going to have the I'm Not Going to Like This episode featuring Seattle Pipe Club Hogshead Bourbon Barrel Aged. An interesting blend, and one that I think you will enjoy. Well, you might enjoy the video about that blend. I don't know if you'll enjoy the blend or not. That's kind of what we're debating in that video, so check that out. The week after that, rediscovering my love for the Nintendo DS Lite, kind of a retro handheld Nintendo system. That'll be fun. But then, something that I think you will find very interesting, the week after that, we are going to be discussing pipes versus burning sticks. Ooh, which one is better? Is it possible to even decide which one is better? Not really, but we'll talk about my preferences and different points in the favor of either. So that'll be a fun video. Look forward to that. And then on Working, I was able to record a video. I think, was it last week that I told you that my micro SD card failed, and so I lost all the footage from the last Working video, but I have footage for a new one, and that'll be posting next week. So it'll be, or this coming week. So it'll be a week later than it should have posted. All right, so as you know, I have been doing a lot of photography lately. Street photography has become kind of my main hobby. Pretty much every day after work, if weather permits, I go out and I take pictures of strangers on the street. And people have asked me in the past, some of you have asked me in the past, you know, have you ever had any bad experiences? Have people been angry about you taking pictures? What about the kind of morality of taking pictures of people if they don't know you're taking the picture, if they don't want you to take a picture? And pretty much for me, I think street photography is an art form. I think it's important that you get a candid picture of somebody if you're trying to do street photography. You don't want someone posing. You don't want it to be fake or just not natural. If someone sees me with my camera and tells me they don't want me to take their picture, I won't. In the United States, you're allowed to take anyone's picture. If they're out in public, you're allowed to record them. You're allowed to pretty much do anything as long as you're not harassing them. But still, I would not take somebody's picture if they asked me not to take their picture. And people have asked me on the channel when I've talked about film photography or street photography, like, haven't you had anyone get angry with you? And the answer has always been no, until recently. But still it's no, because no one whose picture I've actually taken has ever gotten angry with me. In fact, I've only gotten positive responses from people. But recently, I have had two experiences where people whose picture I was not taking and was not even remotely interested in taking have gotten very angry with me. It's a weird situation. So let me tell you about situation number one. The other day, I was downtown. I had my camera. I think you've seen my little digital camera I have. It's, you know, a small little digital camera. It looks kind of like a film camera, like a vintage film camera, but it's digital. It's a Fuji camera. And I typically wear it around my neck. And so it's kind of down just above my crotch, basically, as I'm walking around. And it's just kind of where you would keep your camera if you're not actually using your camera. You have it around your neck so that if you see something you want to photograph, you can pick it up and you can take a picture. And it never occurred to me that if it was just hanging around my neck, that anyone would have a problem with that. But as I was walking downtown, I was nearing a corner where sometimes I like to sit or like to stand. There are these little bollards that keep cars from driving onto the sidewalk. They're sort of shaped like R2-D2, the droid from Star Wars. And I will put my coffee on one of those little droids, and I will look at my phone or whatever and just kind of scope the area out, see if there's anything I want to photograph. But as I was nearing that corner, my little brother called me on the phone, and so I started talking to him. I had my AirPod in, so I was just talking to him, and that corner was occupied. There were 3 dudes and a girl who were sitting near or standing near the R2-D2s, and so I couldn't stand there. And so instead, I walked out into the street. There's sort of like a median. There are parking areas out in the street, and so it's basically like two parking spots and a street away from that corner area. And there was some shade there. It was a sunny day. So I was standing there talking to my little brother with my camera hanging around my neck. There was that group of people by that corner. Wasn't really paying attention to them, but every once in a while they would belch loudly. they would laugh loudly, they would swear loudly. And so I would glance over at them, and occasionally I would look over there just to figure out, you know, are they going to leave anytime soon? Because I would like to go there to my spot and put my coffee down and finish my conversation with my brother. Now these people, they weren't homeless looking, but they looked kind of white trashy. The dudes were just kind of dirtbaggy looking. Just, it was mostly based on the way they acted. They were loud and just really cursing very loudly, which, you know, I don't care about people swearing, but if you're out in public and there's little kids around and stuff, I find that kind of just meh. And the woman or the girl who was with them, she was just this kind of like skinny, maybe in her 20s. She was wearing, it looked like she worked at a lube shop, like a Jiffy Lube or something, an oil change place, because she had kind of like a overall kind of thing with a name tag. Anyway, I wasn't really paying any attention to them at all, just having the conversation with my brother. And then as that conversation was ending, that group started breaking up, and the girl and one of the guys started walking in my direction. Again, not really paying any attention. But as she came up to me, she yelled out at me, "Next time, point that camera at someone else, you freak." And I was like, what? Point the camera. I wasn't pointing the camera at anyone. It was just hanging around my neck. And so I was a little taken aback. I'm not usually too worried when weirdos say things to me on the street, but I said, "What are you talking about?" I think in exactly that tone. And she said, "You've been staring at me for an hour. Like what you see?" And then I can't remember, she said something else about me being a pervert or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And again, I was just like, oh my God, what the hell are you talking about? And of course, she starts walking away, so I don't have the time to actually engage with her. So all I was able to get out was, get over yourself, you're not that interesting. Basically trying to tell her, no, I wasn't trying to take your picture or record you. And even if I had no interest or desire in doing that. You're not someone who's interesting enough for me to want to do that. Even if I had been, there was nothing she could have done about it. It's perfectly legal if I had wished. But the funny thing is, I looked around. Right on the corner where they were standing, there is a security camera hanging right above the coffee shop where they were standing, which was recording everything they were doing. Right across the street at the bus station, there's a security camera recording them and everything else going around or going on in that area. 2 businesses down, there's another security camera. So there were 3 different cameras just with me glancing for a second that actually were recording her. And then there's me who wasn't actually recording her at all. I don't think she knew how cameras worked. I can't just with my mind make my camera like rotate up and then start recording her if I'm not touching it in any way. But it's such a weird thing to do, because obviously we live in a time now where everyone has a camera. If I were standing there across the street with my phone, obviously pointed in her direction, and actually at a level where it could actually record her, would she yell at me? Probably not, because people see people on their phones all the time. Is it just because I had a dedicated camera that she was freaking out? I don't know, but it was ridiculous. I didn't think too much of that because, like I said, these were kind of borderline, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but kind of white trashy people. And I guess I wouldn't expect them to behave in as polite a way as I might expect other people to behave. So that was one. The next time, though, it was just a few days later, I went to my favorite little bagel place, and they have outdoor seating that's kind of right up against the sidewalk, right up against the building. There are a couple tables out there. There's like a table, then a door, then another table. Got my bagel, got my coffee, went outside, sat down at a table, and I took my camera off my neck and I put it down on the table in front of me. It's off. You have to turn the camera on and you have to hit the shutter button in order for it to take a picture. But I wasn't thinking about that. I just put my camera down on the table and I was minding my own business, eating my bagel. And across like a table away from me, but probably like 9 feet distant from me, was another table, outdoor table, and there was a family sitting there, and I didn't really pay enough attention of them to even make note of who they were or what they were. But later on, I realized it was a mother, a father, and their teenage daughter. But the parents looked looked younger than me, frankly, but their daughter looked like she could be an adult too. Like, it was hard to tell exactly their ages. The parents were kind of the typical Bellingham hipstery looking parents with tattoos, but like, you know, middle class, fairly normal looking people. And I wasn't paying any attention to them. I was just eating my bagel, and suddenly I just felt eyes on me. And so I look up, and the mother is staring at me, and she gives me this like kind of look. And again, I'm just like minding my own business, but I give her sort of like a kind of look like, okay, well, what is it? And she says, I noticed that you have your camera pointed right at my teenage daughter. And again, I'm just completely flabbergasted by this. And so I just say, okay, well, it's not on. And she says, well, it's pointed right at my teenage daughter. Again, security camera right above them, right above their table. I would love it if she's so angry about people supposedly recording her and her teenage daughter, if she would go in and complain to the owners of the bagel place. But of course, she doesn't do that. She's complaining to me, someone who is not photographing or recording her or her daughter. I'm just trying to eat my bagel. My camera just happens to be on the table, and it's not even really pointed at her. If she knew anything about focal lengths or anything, she would know that the way it was situated, it might have gotten maybe her knees and maybe the feet of her teenage daughter. I don't know, but I wasn't paying any attention to them. I wasn't trying to record them. And so I said again, it's not on. I'm just eating my bagel. And then she says, well, I think you can see what I mean, can't you? That it's kind of interesting that your camera is pointed right at my teenage daughter. And I said, no, I don't see what you mean. I came here, I put my food down, I took my camera off and put it on the table, and now I'm eating my bagel. So why don't you leave me alone? And that was the end of the conversation. She was kind of huffy, and then they got up and left. They were finishing their food anyway, and they were about to leave anyway. The interesting thing is, her husband and her daughter did not act as though they could hear this conversation at all. They didn't pay any attention to it and made no acknowledgement of it, which makes me think that maybe she acts like this in public quite often, and they're very used to it. Again, if I were recording her or her daughter, I would be completely within my rights to do so. I had no interest in recording either of them. What would I be trying to pervily do with just like a family sitting at a table eating bagels? And her daughter was like wearing a sweatshirt and jeans or something. It's not like they were at the beach in bikinis and I was like, ugh, with the camera trying to get pictures of, it just makes no sense whatsoever. I don't understand this proclivity of people to see a camera and get angry when there are literally cameras everywhere. So yes, 2 people have gotten angry at me about my camera, but no one who I've actually photographed has ever gotten angry. It's only been 2 people who I wasn't photographing, had no interest in photographing, and who were just acting like complete maniacs. But who has the balls to do that to someone in public? So what was she accusing me of? Was she accusing me of being a pervert? But what would my perversion be? I'm gonna post videos of people wearing sweatshirts eating bagels? Like, I don't understand. Makes no sense. Weird. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings, and we've got to hurry because I think we're going to be getting close to 30 minutes here, and then my camera's going to shut off, and I'm going to have to turn it off and turn it on again. But hey, if you have something you would like to say to me, you can tweet at @SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings, or if you are a Patreon supporter, you can leave a comment or a question there, write me a message, and you will go right to the front of the line. If you are feeling generous, you can hit that super thanks button under this video and go right to the front of the line, or you can leave comments, questions, and feedback in the comment section of my YouTube videos. We're gonna deal with one first. This is from @LegendarySage8091, and it was left on my, what is that video actually called? Why You Shouldn't Smoke a Pipe, I think? One of my most popular videos, and it gets a lot of attention from people who don't watch my normal content. And this person wrote, "Is this not nicotine? Why are we acting like it's a fun little, quote, hobby?" I get variations of this same comment quite a bit on that video where people say, you know, if the video is called Why You Shouldn't Smoke a Pipe, they say, well, how about cancer and blah, 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 and emphysema and blah, 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 blah. And they basically name all the symptoms of someone who, of what medical science currently understands the effects of essing multiple packs of cigarettes a day will give you. And people don't differentiate in their minds at all. They don't seem to understand that there's a difference between having a pipe every once in a while or smoking multiple packs of cigarettes a day. I didn't answer this comment, or I don't think I answered this comment, but it is a weird thing that people can't seem to have any sort of sense of proportionality between one thing or the other. They can't differentiate between one thing or the other. And a lot of people key in on nicotine as being inherently the most poisonous thing that you can put in your body. When I think if there is an issue, obviously it can be addictive if you do it a lot. It acts kind of like a stimulant, but kind of like a relaxant. I've read up on a little bit of it versus caffeine. I think it's probably more addictive than caffeine, but it's mostly the delivery system that most of the health issues involved with cigarettes has more to do with the delivery system than it has to do with actual nicotine. Nicotine just makes you want to keep doing the thing that might be unhealthy for you. But it's interesting that, alcohol is far more poisonous and destructive to the human body in large quantities than nicotine is, but people cue in, or they hone in on the nicotine versus alcohol or versus caffeine or versus anything else, when it's not about the substance so much, it's mostly about the delivery system. And with pipes, if you're having a few pipes a week, you're not inhaling, it's more natural, it's not filled with all the chemicals that are in cigarettes. I'm not saying it's healthy, I'm just saying it's not the same as essing a pack a day. And a lot of people just don't seem to be able to make that distinction. And I find that strange. I guess people don't care to think about it, or it's not something that occurs to them, but then why are you watching a video about pipes if you don't think about things? If you've never contemplated that question, and if you did contemplate that question, you would think that you would easily be able to make that distinction, but people can't seem to. Anyway, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from @HeimBatman. 4516. So we were talking about football. I love football, so I have zero problems with football as a topic. I'm primarily a college fan, and as much as I hope the Jets win a Super Bowl, I will agree they won't make it there. But I do think they'll make it to the playoffs and that defense if Rodgers stays healthy. He's too good, even diminished, with those receivers, as long as the line stays healthy as well. Personally, I'm rooting for Detroit to win it all because A, they've never won one, B, it's good for that part of the country that's really struggled, and C, I always root for former Cal Bears. Oh, as for predictions, even the supposed experts screw these up, so I tend not to write them on any platform. I think San Francisco takes it this time, either a rematch with the Chiefs or beats Baltimore. Yeah, so I made all my little predictions. We'll talk about those at the end of the season. The Bengals are not looking amazing, but they always look pretty bad at the beginning of the year. But the Bills are looking pretty good. So in the AFC, I was hoping for either the Bengals or the Bills. But we'll see. And yeah, in the NFC, I'm hoping for Detroit. I mean, I'd love it if the Seahawks did it, but I just don't think that's possible. Next, we have @EricBurs8958. I don't disagree that the Hawks should be looking for a franchise quarterback, but third-year QB Sam Howell had a very good preseason, and I predict he will get some serious playtime this season. My prediction is the Hawks will go 10-6. Go Hawks. Yeah, I think 10-6 sounds about right. I don't agree with you about Howell as much. I think that Geno is a better quarterback than Howell, but we'll see. @Solar Labyrinth, excited to have the NFL back. I used to be such a big sports fan that I basically followed all of the major sports closely, but as I've aged and started a family, it's rare I can actually sit down and watch any sports. The NFL, though, I still make time for, especially the Red Zone channels on Sundays. Good luck on the predictions. The NFL is so hard to call since any team can beat any other team. They do have that parity with the salary cap and everything. Well, maybe except the Panthers. They are so bad. Agree heartily on the Jets. I just don't see how a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off a major injury will magically make them ascend to the next level. I don't see them being terrible, but I don't think they're on the same level as the Chiefs, Ravens, and other top teams in the AFC. I agree. Next, @ChrisPortislander. My audio seemed like it wasn't recording, but I think it still is. 2458. I agree on Blur. Blur versus Oasis, that old Britpop thing in the 90s. Incidentally, their latest album from 2023 was a late work done right. I thought it reminded me of Bowie in the late 90s at times. I've heard good things about the newest Blur album, but I'm always kind of suspicious of bands putting albums out way late. Like, I don't know. Might be good. At Ledger and Lace says, I have a radio friend who told me he wouldn't open his windows if there was a Goo Goo Dolls concert on his front lawn. That's pretty much how I feel. Is Goo Goo Dolls, were they the, and I don't want the world to be blue. Is that the, and I want it to know my name, something like that? Boodle-doo. The name song? That sounds familiar. That's pretty much how I feel about Oasis. They're no Goo Goo Dolls or fellow Manchester band Joy Division or the 1975. I don't hate Oasis. I really enjoyed their first couple albums, but yeah. And I really like Noel Gallagher as a person. I think he seems very amusing. I mean, I don't know if he's actually nice, but from what I've seen in interviews and stuff, he's very amusing to me. But yeah, I don't know. And then we don't have many comments on the clean condition leather work boots video, but from @Ryan McFadin 09, our good friend and Patreon supporter, they look great. I'm glad you're putting them to good use. Bic 4 is also a great option if you don't want the leather to darken as much. I think I have some Bic 4 somewhere. But yeah, I don't really care about. With my work boots, I don't care if they darken. At Stephen Young 3909, I use both Obenauf's oil and grease for my Nix fire boots. Depending on time of year and how much love the leather needs, just be sure to keep the oil from the eyelets and the soles. Great video, Bradley. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't oil my boots a ton. It's usually only maybe a few times a year about that. I think you can definitely overdo that, and you want to be careful not to overdo that. You don't want to get them over-oiled or over-conditioned, and I have heard that if you do too much around the eyelets, or you can basically make the leather so soft that you can pull the eyelets out. So yeah, you need to be careful of that. So that's a good point to make. Thanks for all that feedback, gang. Please keep it coming in. It really helps make the show go. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is much appreciated. It helps pay for the camera that is filming this video, for products, for review. It basically makes it possible for me to make videos for you guys. And we're trying to get 100 $5 supporters. So if you feel like supporting what we do on this channel, there is a link to the Patreon in the description box below. You also get early access to all the Stuff and Things videos. They post on Mondays as opposed to Wednesdays, and they are ad-free. So good stuff there. And every week we shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. The producers, people like Glenn Dunnington, Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, Jonathon Proctor, ConCoClem, Charles Mowers, and Friendly Piper. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month, people like Bob Magee and Ryan McFadin. And we'll never forget our dearly departed friend, Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Gang, thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for all the good stuff coming up on Stuff and Things, and the new working video coming out this week as well. Lots of good stuff coming up. I think you're going to enjoy the pipes versus burning sticks video especially, but don't forget, where are my notes? Not going to like SPC Hogshead Bourbon Barrel Age next week, rediscovering my Nintendo DS Lite the week after, and then the pipes versus burning sticks videos after that. Go check out last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. Nobody did, because I mentioned football in the title and in the thumbnail, but we talked about other things too, pipe-related things. So check that out if you haven't watched that yet. I know YouTube just doesn't put things in front of you sometimes if it doesn't have the proper titling, doesn't fit the algorithm properly. But until next time, tell me it again. I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience that's been Stuff and Things on a Sunday Stuff and Things. Oh man, I can't breathe very deeply. Rib thing, arm thing, lots of problems. I'll see you later.